Hey guys, what's up? It's Rarecoin here, and today I wanted to talk about my new concept idea of what they could do when they replace the Duel Arena. And I would like to call it Last Clan Standing. And I'll kind of break it down into quite a few different sections of all the different kind of features and kind of details that I've thought of that they could kind of flesh out. Now you might be asking, why is it called Last Clan Standing? And I think the reason I would like it to be called Last Clan Standing is because I think Last Man Standing, that's currently in the game, is a very good basis for what they can build around as a game mode. Especially for a PvP scene where you're trying to put everybody on an even playing field to start, and then the better they do in the game, the more, potential they have. So I think this is a really core concept, especially to like an E-League type game mode, because if everybody doesn't start on an even playing field, or maybe like people just don't have the opportunity with like to bring in the same gear and stuff as somebody else, I think that brings a lot of inequality to people who strictly play the game for a competitive PvP standpoint. So let's start off with the basics. How many people would play? Well, I think that there should be multiple amounts. I think there should be a 3v3 mode so that you and like your friends can go do it. I think there should be a 5v5, which I think 5 people versus 5 people should be the standard kind of meta for how they do the competitive scene. However, I could also see them rotating between the different brackets maybe of 3v3s, 5v5s. I would like to see 9v9s also, and potentially 20v20 and 40v40 for the larger clans who maybe have beefs and stuff with each other. So how does it relate to Last Man Standing and that being built off? Well, because we've already talked about how many players there are, I think that each player would start out with an LMS type loadout. But I think they should make a little bit different. I think each player should be able to choose what class they specialize in. So you would either choose a major, a ranger, a melee, or a tank. And I think these are all, this actually adds a lot of diversity to like a PvP scenario. And I think that, you can have 3v3 teams where maybe nobody chooses a ranger or whatever. But what choosing this class would do would basically be choosing your starting weapon, or one of 2 maybe starting weapons. And I think you could use that to kind of say, okay, if you choose ranger, instead of getting a rune crossbow, you're going to get a dragon crossbow to start. And it's going to have dragon bolts, or whatever the bolts they use in LMS is. And if you choose a major, maybe you get a Staff of the Dead instead of an Arim Staff to start. Now, if you chose melee, maybe what they could do is give you like a Tentacle Whip and an Avernic Defender, or something like that, instead of a regular whip with a Dragon Defender. Maybe you just get that extra DPS boost that way. Now, the tank is a very unique class, because really any class can be a tank if they have the best in-slot armors for themselves. And I think this could kind of be changed, especially now that they've changed the way the bulwark works and stuff. I think if you chose the tank class, I think you should have the opportunity to start with a tank legs and like Carol's top like almost every single time. And maybe that just changes to like occasionally you get like an Aram's piece or something, but basically you would start with like 2 tanky pieces of armor instead of an extra DPS weapon, and it would show that your ability to like out tank the other person's like larger hits that they're trying to do. And I think that's core to the tank class. Now, what I would like to see in this kind of game mode is for smaller groups of 3v3, you would get put in a smaller like Duel Arena size play field, where you either get put in the obstacles arena or you get put in the open arena, and it's maybe just a 50-50 between those two. For larger groups, I would like to see the larger groups get put into something that's like, a couple draw tiles past maybe 4 quadrants next to each other, So if you're in the northeast corner, you cannot see somebody in the southeast corner quadrant. but somebody in the middle quadrant could potentially see somebody on the inner northeast part of the quadrant. So that way you have an aspect of people can't always see each other and their teammates, but if you know how you can call out where your teammates are, and things like that, and like say, hey, I need help in the northwest quadrant. I'm like 3 sharks or so down from my opponent. I need some help. And last but not least, for the 9v9s and larger group sizes, I think that you should just put them in an LMS type map, and it may be that, you know, they make more LMS maps and the old maps are what becomes the competitive scene while the new maps are tested for people in LMS. And that could be a really good way to kind of test how people interact within the environments and have it a little more controlled than the group areas. Now let's talk about how it will differ from LMS. Let's give an example of a 3v3 last clan standing mode, where you're spawning in a duel arena size field, and let's say it's the open field. The first thing I would change is, instead of having surrender doors, I would have a supply table. And the supply table would basically be this point that your team needs to run back to resupply when you're not in combat. So if somebody kills their opponent early, they'll get a key and they can go back to the supply table. And the supply table would heal them all the way and restore their prayer points, and then possibly give them their upgraded weapon or gear, whatever the key for the kill happened to give. Now for the 5v5s, I would say that you can have 2 options. You can either do it in like the northeast southwest corners of the map, and you can have people spawn on like a triangle side of the map for their teams, or you can have them on the east and west side in the center and have it split up like 2 rectangles or something for the map and where people spawn and where their supply table is. For the 9v9 and higher game modes, what I would say is, for a supply table, you make a supply chest like fall from the sky, like within the player who killed them's draw distance, and make it so that maybe you can only access it if you're not in combat. So normally you would assume that, hey, I'm not going to be in combat because I just killed my opponent. But if somebody else has killed their opponent too, there's a potential that they could be running past you and like hit you before you can make it to the supply chest. And maybe if you hit the supply chest when somebody's attacking you still, and it's yours, like you get like 75% of the food and supplies, and like if somebody else steals it, they would only get like 50% of the food, and make it something similar to that. So this game mode would not just be competitive, but I think there should be a casual mode too, where for the 3v3 and the 5v5s, you could go into maybe, let's say, a randomized team with 4 other people that went into the lobby or whatever, and you would get put against another random 5 people, and so on and so forth. That way people have the opportunity to practice the content before they commit to like the competitive side of the game. And I also think that people should be going in with their own stats, not like LMS where anybody can go in, but I think that people should be going in with their main accounts if they want to have 99 magic, strength, range, and stuff. And if people want to go in with a tank account that's 75 attack and strength, then that's their choice, but that's the account they're starting with in the game stats. And I think that this is really important, because if you take an account that is just like level 3 like LMS and stuff, well, you don't care about that account and the longevity of it, and the fact that, you know, if you win a tournament this year but you get caught cheating next year, then you're gonna get permabanned and disowned and stuff, and revoked of your achievements and things like that. And I think it brings a lot of integrity to the game mode itself. Now, I'm not sure what would be reasonable for entry fees and such, and how would you decide your competitive teams? Well, I think there should be a kind of board, just like the clan system has like a like a clan area where you go and you sign everybody up together. I think that for the competitive side, you should be choosing your team of 3 and your team of 5, and you should basically have to sign up and register as a team, and I think there should be a registration fee. Now, I'm unsure of how much that should be, and I think it'd be up to a lot of debate, but it could be anywhere from 10 mil a person to 25 mil a person, maybe even 50 mil a person for like to play in the competitive scene for the season with that team. And I think that would potentially be a great gold sync. And I think you could even create an item sync within that potentially. This isn't like set in stone or anything, and people may decide to change it, but you could have an incentive to throw items into like pay for your fees. So you could maybe only throw items that are worth 10 mil or more into this like fee collector, and maybe it will give you 20% off of your fee, like compared to the price of the item. So if you throw in something worth 30 mil, it counts as 36 mil worth of your fees, or so on and so forth. And you don't get those fees back and stuff unless you do really well in the competitive scene. And maybe the top teams from the competitive scene not only are going to make it into like some kind of special tournament and stuff, but they possibly win a portion, like maybe you take 70% of the competitive scene's gold, and that's what they receive for being like within the top. You divide it out, like the top team maybe gets 20% of all the fees that were paid in for the set amount of time of 3 months or a month or whatever for people to actually play competitive. And then from there you go down, second place gets 10% and so on and so forth. You can cut it down to like 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 for the next following teams, and so on and so forth. And that's about all I have for now on the basic concept of what could replace the Duel Arena. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and a comment down below. Let me know, what do you guys think we should add to this idea? What should it change about it? Should there be like multiple rounds of this minigame, or should it be a one-round minigame? There's so many different aspects. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.